In the village of Nyandima, a girl named Miriam was known more for her quiet ways than for her true strength. Life had never been easy for her. While others enjoyed comfort and recognition, Miriam spent her days working hard and being overlooked. She was the daughter of Mwangi, a gentle fisherman, and Nyurai, a woman as soft as the evening breeze. Tragedy struck before Miriam could truly know her mother. Nyurai passed away giving birth to her, leaving behind a void that no one could fill. The village was full of traditions and pride, but it seemed like no one saw the potential in the humble girl. Little did they know, Miriam's story was just beginning, and soon, her quiet life would change in ways no one could have expected. Mwangi, though loving, was a man burdened by grief. He struggled to raise Miriam alone, but his heart was heavy, and his spirit was worn down by years of toil. After several years of loneliness, he remarried, taking Nyandura as his wife. Nyandura was everything Nyurai was not: sharp-tongued, ambitious, and often cruel. She came to Nyandima with two daughters of her own, Akili and Sabina, girls whose hearts reflected their mother's coldness. In her new life, Miriam had to constantly fight against the forces of her stepmother's hate. Every day, Miriam woke up before sunrise, her hands rough and tired from all the chores she had to do. Fetching water from the river, sweeping the compound, and laboring in the fields were her daily tasks. While other girls her age laughed and danced, preparing for their futures, Miriam worked tirelessly, always under Nyandura's watchful gaze. "Why can't you be more like my daughters?" Nyandura would laugh, her voice dripping with hate. "They have beauty and talent, while you are just a shadow, fading into the background." Akili and Sabina echoed their mother's sentiments. They were not outright cruel, but their laughter often felt like daggers piercing Miriam's heart. They would show off their fine clothes, bragging about the men interested in them, while Miriam worked quietly, unnoticed by everyone. In the village, the women gathered to weave baskets, share stories, and prepare meals, but Miriam was hardly invited to join them. They saw her as a reminder of her mother's legacy, a girl who carried the burden of a tragedy that had long since passed. Instead, they turned their backs, preferring the company of Nyandura's daughters, who were eager to boast about their charms and talents. Despite the challenges she faced, Miriam found solace in nature. The green fields, the sweet-smelling flowers, and the gentle sounds of the river became her only friends. She would often sneak away to the banks of the river Nyaruba, where she could sit quietly, listening to the gentle ripples of water lapping against the shore. There, under the canopy of the mighty baobab trees, she felt a sense of belonging, as though the earth embraced her and whispered secrets only she could hear. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden rays across the village, Miriam found herself at the river once more. The cool breeze danced around her, carrying with it the sense of the wild. As she sat beneath her favorite baobab tree, she closed her eyes and allowed herself to dream of a different life, a life where she was seen, valued, and loved for who she was. "What is my purpose?" she wondered aloud, her voice barely rising above the sound of the flowing river. "Why do I feel so alone?" A breeze stirred the leaves above her, and a shiver ran down her spine, as if answering her question. It was as if the tree itself was listening, urging her to dig deeper within herself. "Miriam, do not despair," a soft voice called out from the shadows. Miriam's eyes flew open, and she gasped as she saw an elderly woman emerging from the depths of the trees. The woman was wrapped in a cloak made of leaves and vines, her hair white like the moonlight. She walked with a grace that belied her age, and her eyes sparkled with ancient wisdom. "Mziwamsitu," Miriam whispered in disbelief, recognizing the spirit of the forest that the villagers spoke of in hushed tones. The Mziwamsitu was said to guard the village and its people, offering guidance to those who showed respect for the earth. "Miriam," the old woman said, her voice like the rustling of leaves. I have watched over you, child. Your kindness, your resilience, and your connection to the land have not gone unnoticed. You carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, but you must remember that within you lies a power waiting to be awakened. Miriam felt a surge of hope at the words of the Nnefolktales. But how can I find this power? I am just a girl, unseen and unwanted, she said, tears welling in her eyes. The old woman stepped closer, her presence warm and comforting. Your worth is not defined by the opinions of others. You must believe in yourself, for the strength of the earth flows through you. The time will come when you will need to stand tall and embrace your true self. With those words, the Nnefolktales raised her hand, and the air around them shimmered. Suddenly, Miriam's simple clothes transformed. The leaves around her wove themselves into a beautiful dress adorned with flowers, while her hair was adorned with beads crafted from river stones. At her neck, the old woman placed a pendant carved from the sacred baobab, a symbol of strength and resilience. Go forth and embrace your destiny, the Nnefolktales urged. The village needs your light. The time for you to shine is coming. Miriam stood, awestruck by the transformation. She felt a sense of power coursing through her, igniting a flame of determination within. As she made her way back to the village, her heart raced with excitement and fear. The day of the Mbolia festival arrived, a celebration that honored the coming of age for young girls in the village. The air was thick with anticipation as the sun rose, casting a warm glow over Nnefolktales. Women painted their faces with vibrant colors, their laughter ringing through the streets as they prepared for the festivities. Nnefolktales, in her best clothes, hurried around with Achille and Sabina, making sure everyone noticed them. Miriam, however, remained hidden away, her heart filled with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Would anyone notice her this time? Would she finally be seen? As the sun climbed higher, the village square filled with music and laughter. The drummers beat their rhythms, and the aroma of roasted maize filled the air. Miriam stood at the edge of the square, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt like an outsider, but she had promised herself to embrace the strength that had awakened within her. As she stepped into the center of the square, the music seemed to change. The villagers turned to look at her, their expressions shifting from confusion to astonishment. Miriam's dress shone in the sunlight, and her presence commanded attention. "What is this?" whispered one villager, while another gaped their neighbor, eyes wide with disbelief. Achille and Sabina exchanged glances, their expressions darkening. "How dare she show up like this?" Achille hissed. "She thinks she can compete with us. Let's show her how out of place she really is," Sabina replied, her voice laced with disdain. But before they could act, the Nnefolktales appeared, standing proudly beside Miriam. The villagers murmured in awe at the sight of the ancient spirit, her presence a powerful reminder of the village's connection to the earth. "Listen well, people of Nnefolktales," the Nnefolktales proclaimed, her voice carrying across the square. "This girl, Miriam, has overcome the shadows of her past. She carries the spirit of the land within her, and she is worthy of your respect and admiration." Baba Chikala, the village elder, stepped forward, his face lined with years of wisdom. "You speak the truth, Nnefolktales. We have neglected the light that dwells among us. Miriam, you are a child of this village, and it is time for us to recognize your strength." As the villagers erupted in applause, Miriam's heart soared. For the first time, she felt truly seen, her worth acknowledged. She danced among the villagers, her spirit buoyant with joy as the music surrounded her. But just as quickly as the joy filled the air, Nnefolktales' voice cut through the celebration like a knife. "This is a mockery. A servant girl should not be allowed to steal our spotlight," she shouted, her eyes filled with rage. Akili and Sabina joined their mother, their laughter mocking. "What a joke! She's nothing but a shadow," they taunted, their words dripping with venom. Miriam felt a flicker of doubt, but the warmth of the Nnefolktales enveloped her like a protective shield. She stood tall, her heart steady, and gazed at Nnefolktales with defiance. "I may be a servant girl, but I am also a part of this village. I have as much right to celebrate as anyone else." The villagers began to rally around her, their cheers drowning out Nnefolktales' venomous words. In that moment, Miriam realized that she was not alone. The strength she had discovered was not just her own, it was the spirit of the village that flowed through her veins. As the festival continued, Miriam's confidence blossomed. She danced, laughed, and celebrated with the villagers, her heart swelling with the joy of acceptance. Nnefolktales and her daughters were filled with jealousy, their eyes dark with resentment as they watched the girl they once deemed unworthy become the center of attention. Yet even amidst the celebration, Miriam remained humble. She understood that her journey had only just begun. The power she felt was not merely for herself, it was a gift meant to uplift her community, to remind them of their strength and resilience. As the sun began to set, Miriam took a moment to reflect on her journey. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the Nnefolktales and the wisdom she had shared. Miriam knew that her purpose extended beyond her own desires. She was destined to become a beacon of hope for those who felt unseen and unworthy. With this newfound understanding, Miriam made a silent promise to herself and to the village. She would harness her strength to uplift others, to show them the beauty of their own stories, and to illuminate the path for those who had lost their way. And so, as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Miriam stood at the edge of the river once more, a radiant figure against the backdrop of the universe. She had embraced her true self, and the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but she was ready to face them with courage and grace. This was not the end of her story. It was only the beginning. The sun rose the next morning, casting a golden hue over Nnefolktales, and the village buzzed with excitement from the previous day's festival. Miriam's heart still fluttered with joy as she walked through the village, greeted warmly by the villagers who had once overlooked her. She felt a sense of belonging that she had longed for, but deep down, she was aware that Nnefolktales and her daughters were still lurking in the shadows, their envy festering like an open wound. As she approached the communal gathering area, she noticed the women discussing the aftermath of the Mbolia festival. Their laughter echoed, but there was an undercurrent of tension, especially when Nnefolktales' name was mentioned. "Miriam truly outshone them yesterday," one woman remarked, a smile on her face. "Yes, but it seems Nnefolktales is plotting something," another replied, casting a wary glance toward Nnefolktales' home. Miriam felt a rush of worry. Nnefolktales' jealousy could lead to trouble. Just as she began to think about her new strength, the sound of leaves brought her back to reality. The Nnefolktales appeared again, glowing like a mirage in the morning light. "Child, listen closely," the Nnefolktales said, her voice like a whisper carried on the wind. "The path ahead will not be without trials. Nnefolktales' jealousy is a dangerous force, and she will not rest until she feels you have been put in your place." Miriam nodded, her heart heavy with the weight of this knowledge. "What should I do, Mzi?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "You must remain steadfast in your journey. Use the power you have discovered not just for yourself but to uplift others. The spirit of the land will guide you, but you must be willing to listen," the Nnefolktales replied before vanishing as mysteriously as she had come. With renewed determination, Miriam set off to the fields, ready to assist her fellow villagers. She toiled alongside the women, lending a hand with the harvest, sharing stories, and bringing laughter into their lives. As they worked, Miriam began to notice a change in the atmosphere of Nyandima. People were beginning to speak of unity and strength, inspired by her presence. But Nyandura, always plotting, was not sitting still. That evening, she summoned her daughters to discuss a plan to regain their lost status in the village. "We cannot allow that servant girl to overshadow us," she hissed, her eyes gleaming with malice. "We need to show everyone that Miriam is nothing without us." Akili, eager to impress her mother, spoke up. "Let's have a gathering and showcase our talents. We can outshine her in every way. Let the villagers see who truly deserves their admiration." Sabina nodded eagerly, her eyes glinting with mischief. "We could set a challenge, one that will expose Miriam's shortcomings for all to see." Nyandura's face broke into a sly smile. "That's an excellent idea, my dears. A challenge it shall be. We will call it the Nyandima, the Star of Nyandima. We will showcase our skills, and Miriam will be the one left in the shadows." The following day, Nyandura and her daughters set the plan into motion. They went around the village, inviting everyone to the grand gathering where they would display their talents. The villagers buzzed with excitement, eager to witness the event that promised entertainment and celebration. Miriam, however, sensed the tension in the air. She could feel Nyandura's malice like a dark cloud hanging over her. Determined not to back down, she sought the advice of the Mziwamsitu once more, heading to the river where she felt the spirit's presence strongest. "Mzi, what should I do? They are planning a challenge to discredit me," Miriam confessed, her voice quivering with anxiety. The Mziwamsitu appeared, her expression calm yet penetrating. "Miriam, remember that true strength lies not in competition but in unity. Embrace your gifts, and do not shy away from the challenge. Show them the power of your spirit and how it can uplift those around you." With those words, Miriam felt a surge of confidence. She decided she would not only participate in the Nyandima challenge but would also invite the village to join her in celebration. She would showcase the talents of the whole community rather than just her own. As the day of the challenge approached, Miriam worked tirelessly. She organized a gathering that would blend her strengths with the talents of her fellow villagers. The women gathered under the large baobab tree to share their skills, weaving, dancing, storytelling, and cooking. Together, they crafted a plan that would not only highlight their individual talents but also celebrate their unity as a community. On the day of the challenge, the village square was vibrant with colors and sounds. Miriam stood at the center, her heart pounding with excitement. The villagers gathered, eager to see what the challenge would unfold. Nyandura and her daughters took their places, flaunting their skills with arrogance, while Miriam's approach was grounded in collaboration and joy. As the first round commenced, Nyandura took to the stage with a display of culinary skill. She prepared a lavish feast, flaunting her dishes before the crowd. The villagers clapped and cheered, captivated by her show. But as the aroma wafted through the air, Miriam stood back and waited patiently. When it was her turn, Miriam called upon the women of the village. Together, they prepared a traditional dish, each contributing their unique flavors and techniques. As they worked, the atmosphere shifted. Laughter filled the air, and the unity among them resonated deeply with the audience. "Look at them," one villager exclaimed. "They are not just making food, they are creating something beautiful together." Miriam's dish was more than a meal, it was a celebration of their collective spirit. When it was finally served, the villagers eagerly gathered to taste it, and the flavors ignited their senses. The crowd erupted into applause, recognizing the magic of collaboration. As the challenge continued, Miriam and her companions showcased traditional dances and stories that spoke of their ancestors and the land. Each performance brought the villagers closer together, reminding them of their shared heritage and the importance of community. Nyandura and her daughters watched with growing resentment, their attempts to outshine Miriam thwarted by the genuine joy radiating from the crowd. It was evident that Miriam's strength lay not only in her abilities but in her ability to uplift those around her. The final round arrived, and Miriam prepared for her last performance. She stood in front of the gathered villagers, her heart racing. This challenge is not about competition. It is about celebrating our gifts and recognizing that we are stronger together, she declared. With her words, she invited everyone to join her on stage. The villagers joined together, filling the air with dance, music, and stories. Laughter and rhythm echoed through Nyandima, creating a bond that went beyond their rivalry. The crowd was captivated, their hearts swelling with pride as they witnessed the magic of unity. Nyandura and her daughters, now mere spectators, felt the weight of their jealousy as it crumbled beneath the warmth of Miriam's spirit. As the night fell and the stars illuminated the sky, the villagers cheered for Miriam and her companions. In that moment, they realized that true strength was not about being the brightest star but about fostering a community where everyone could shine. Miriam beamed with joy, feeling the support of her fellow villagers. She understood now that her journey was not only about overcoming challenges but about using her voice to uplift others. The Mziwamsitu had been right, her power was intertwined with the earth and the people she cherished. As the festival drew to a close, Miriam felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. She had faced Nyandura's jealousy and transformed it into a celebration of community. But she also knew that this was just one battle in a much larger journey. The connection she had forged with the villagers was precious, and she vowed to nurture it. With her heart full of hope and her spirit aglow, Miriam stood at the edge of the river once more. The waters glistened under the moonlight, mirroring the stars above. She whispered a prayer of gratitude to the Mziwamsitu and to the land that had embraced her. "I will not shy away from what lies ahead," she promised. "I will continue to rise, to inspire, and to celebrate the beauty of our shared stories." And with that resolve, Miriam turned back toward the village, ready to embrace the challenges that awaited her. She understood that her path was one of self-discovery, strength, and unity, and she was prepared to illuminate it with her light. With the glow of the festival still fresh in her heart, Miriam awoke the next day feeling renewed. The villagers spoke of the challenge in awe, and her confidence radiated like the sun rising over the vast savanna. But in the shadows, Nyandura and her daughters were filled with anger, planning to get their status back. Miriam, oblivious to their scheming, began her day with a sense of purpose. She decided to visit the elders of the village, hoping to learn from their wisdom and understand better the traditions that shaped their lives. With each step, she felt a connection to the earth beneath her feet, the pulse of her ancestors guiding her. The elders welcomed her warmly, their eyes twinkling with pride. "You have brought joy to our village, Miriam," one elder remarked, her voice rich with experience. "You possess a rare spirit, and we must nurture it. Join us in our gatherings, for you have much to learn and share." Miriam accepted the invitation, eager to soak in the teachings of those who had come before her. As days turned into weeks, she immersed herself in the customs and stories of her people. She learned to weave baskets, craft beautiful pots, and sing songs that resonated with the heart of the land. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the village elders gathered around a fire. Miriam sat among them, her heart swelling with gratitude. "What is the greatest lesson you have learned in your lives?" she asked, her curiosity shining. The eldest elder, known as Mama Nia, leaned forward, her gaze steady. "The most important lesson, my child, is that strength lies not in power but in compassion. When we uplift others, we rise together. Remember that, for the world can be unkind, but kindness can change it." Her words echoed in Miriam's heart, sparking a flame of determination. She realized that her journey was about more than personal success, it was about building a community where everyone thrived. With this newfound wisdom, she returned to her daily life, eager to implement what she had learned. Meanwhile, Nyandura was concocting her plan. She had watched Miriam's rise with growing envy and could no longer bear it. "We must show everyone that Miriam is a fraud," she told her daughters one evening. "We will create a spectacle that will reveal her true nature." Achille and Sabina nodded, their eyes gleaming with malice. "What do you have in mind, mother?" Achille asked, eager for a chance to prove herself. Nyandura smirked, her mind racing with ideas. "We shall host a grand feast, but not just any feast. We will invite the villagers and spread rumors about Miriam, claiming she has stolen our talents and pretended to be one of us. We will show them she does not belong here." As Nyandura set her plan into motion, she prepared a lavish feast filled with sumptuous dishes. The aroma rose through the village, and soon, everyone was filled with excitement. Invitations were sent out, and Miriam was included, but the tone of the invitation felt suspicious. On the day of the feast, the village square was adorned with colorful fabrics, and tables overflowed with food. Nyandura, dressed in her finest attire, stood at the entrance, welcoming villagers with false warmth. She knew that all eyes would be on Miriam, and she intended to use this to her advantage. Miriam arrived, her heart racing with anticipation. She had heard whispers of the feast but was unprepared for the cold reception that awaited her. The villagers greeted her with a mix of curiosity and concern, their eyes shifting between her and Nyandura. "Welcome, Miriam," Nyandura said, pretending to be happy. "We are so glad you could join us for our little feast." Miriam forced a smile, sensing the underlying tension. She stepped into the square, her heart heavy but determined to show grace. "Thank you for the invitation, Nyandura," she replied, her voice steady. "I'm excited to celebrate with everyone." As the festivities commenced, Nyandura began to weave her web of deception. "Isn't it interesting how Miriam has suddenly become the center of attention?" she remarked loudly, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "One might wonder how she has learned to dance and cook so well, given her humble beginnings." The villagers exchanged uneasy glances, caught in the crossfire of Nyandura's insinuations. Miriam felt her heart drop but tried to stay strong. She remembered Mama Nia's words about compassion and decided to take the high road. "Everyone has unique gifts," Miriam said, her voice calm and warm. "We all learn from each other. I am grateful for the love and guidance I have received from this community. It has shaped who I am." Nyandura's eyes narrowed, her plan backfiring as Miriam's humility shone through. But she refused to give up. "How noble of you to take credit for our village's talents," she sneered, raising her voice. "Perhaps we should put this to the test. Let's see how well you perform compared to my daughters." The villagers, unsure of how to respond, looked to Miriam, who took a deep breath. "If that is what you wish, I will not shy away from it." The villagers began to murmur in agreement. The villagers prepared for the next round of the ceremony, but as Miriam gathered her thoughts, she realized that the real challenge lay ahead. What secrets would the next activity reveal? And would Nyandura ultimately stand in the way of unity, or would she finally embrace the strength of their shared stories? As they continued the celebration, Miriam felt the weight of the past still hanging in the air. But she was resolved to face the challenging truths ahead, believing she could guide her community toward a brighter future.